Welcome to Yo, your optimal personal economy, the podcast that empowers high performers to think differently around earning, protecting, saving, investing, and growing their wealth. We see wealth, while encompassing money, also including other domains that hold significance, such as health, mindset, fitness, relationships, and diet. In every episode, your host, Justin Bennett, the founder and president of Bennett Financial, will discuss how he has been helping shift conventional paradigms in order to take control of their own personal economy. By taking ownership of your own circumstances instead of following traditional methods, you can truly yield the results that will produce solutions in line with your expectations. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Your Optimal Personal Economy, also referred to as YOPE. This is your host, Justin Bennett. We've got a really exciting show today. We've got a good friend as well as a client in Frank Luna joining us. So I wanted to just welcome Frank to the show. Frank, how you doing?
Doing good, man. It's a beautiful day at the beach, so you can't complain about days like this.
Sure is. What do you say? It's a good day for a good day? Is that what you say?
It's a good day for a good day, baby. Especially today. I just got back. I brought my parents out to Moorestown this morning to get their second dose of the vaccine. So all over New Jersey today, as we might say. So
love it.
That was good.
Love it.
Good to get that done.
By the way, that is good. That is good. Have you trademarked that saying it's a good day for a good day or
no, I don't think I came up with it. I don't know that I came up with it, but it's a good mentality for me, and it's getting me somewhere.
That's it. One day at a time, right? That's what it's doing.
That's it, brother. That is it.
So listen, I just wanted to. I know you don't think that many people look at you as a highly revered human being, but it is the case that people do, and I just want to take a moment to give our listeners a quick insight into who Frank Luna is, because I think it's pretty interesting. And, I'll just touch on it a little bit. I mean, Frank and I have known each other for years now. And Frank, unlike many other people, decided to take it upon himself to enlist into the Army National Guard, 11B, I guess it is. Right, Frank?
Yeah, 11B is the MOS. That means infantry.
Okay.
11 Bravo.
And got it. And it's something that I like to spend a little bit of time with, because most people will go into service at a relatively young age, either before, I don't even know what the age minimum is these days, but whether it be high school or college. But you kind of did it a little bit differently in that you got some real life experience, and then I think you recognize that you happen to really appreciate this country. You really appreciate what this country offers you, and I think you said at one point you wanted to give back and you wanted to serve. Is that right?
Yeah, Justin, and I, look, I appreciate you bringing it up. It's not something that to me is, you don't do something like that for glamour on any level, because it's a lot of work for a little bit of glamour. But yeah, it's something I regretted not doing when I was younger, and after I got out of high school, went to college, had a good job after college, a girlfriend, another good job, this, that. And there was always a reason not to do it in my head. And when I came up to the age of 36, I had passed an age limit, because you have to have shipped by your 35th birthday. So I had met with a recruiter, a buddy of mine helped me out, Assemblyman Ryan Peters, he happens to be a commander in one of the SEAL teams. And, I got this age waiver, so I shipped off to boot camp at the age of 36. Was down in Fort Benning, Georgia for 6 months between that and infantry training. And, I got out of there and back to New Jersey. So it's...
Well, listen, we appreciate it. I know it's... you don't do it for the ritz and glitz, but it doesn't go unnoticed, and it's appreciated. So thanks for your service. In fact, I think...
Yeah, man.
You had a recent stint down in Washington, D.C., where you had to just make sure that all the peace was kept. Is that right? You had to make sure that people didn't start to act up too much?
Yeah, we were down at the Capitol. I was one of those National Guard soldiers that was down in D.C. because of the events that unfolded on January 6th. So, when America woke up and saw all those National Guard folks sleeping in the Capitol, I happened to be one of those guys on the floor. And you could be sure we were more than fine with those accommodations. That was just a little spot we were able to take a break. So we were happy to have that. And, it was just interesting to be a part of history, especially having worked for a member of Congress for about 4 years. And then to be down there again in a different capacity was interesting in a lot of ways for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was neat.
And listen, I know, Frank, you haven't formally launched your family yet, but you may find yourself there one day. But when I say your family, I'm talking about your more immediate family. However, it's my understanding that you are referred to as the Funkle. Is that correct? the fun uncle?
Yeah, man. That's stuck. My sister had the first nephew of the family, I guess about 5 years ago now, Lucas. And Funkle was just one of those things that I was called. And now there's a total of 5 nephews and 1 niece. So 4 boys, 1 girl. And I'm like the human jungle gym around them. And I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. I just love those kids, and I love getting in the mix with them and just having fun. And it's that's one of the downfalls of COVID. That I don't get to do that as much. But you take the time you can get and just be safe and smart. But they're great kids, man. They're fun. And as a father, I mean, they're just between the ages of 5 and like less than 5 months. So. There's a lot going on down in the southern Ocean County area in my family.
That's great. They probably think that you're, this remarkable human being because, you swim with alligators. I mean, talk to us about swimming with alligators. Who swims with alligators?
It's funny. So I was working for a congressman. He lost an election. And I had this opportunity where I was like, all right, it was, you close everything out. You're annoyed is probably putting it mildly that you lose an election. I mean, you're a competitive guy yourself, so you never want to lose. Nobody ever wants to lose. And then when you lose, especially a campaign that you're involved in that has the eyes of the nation on it, that's like a $20 million race, and that happens. It's like, man, what next? Like, how do you push through that? I had a 1985 Volkswagen van. My buddy Captain Mike, who is just a very integral part of my life when it comes to a lot of my wild adventures, he's like, dude, you got to just outfit that van and you got to go for a little while. And I was like, that's a good idea. So 2 weeks later, I was down in Florida with that van, and this guy, his name's Chris. He does what he calls an underwater gator tour, where you can swim with the alligator named Casper at this place in Homestead, Florida, the Everglades Outpost. So you just kind of show up there, and he's a wildlife photographer, really, really neat guy. And you just show up there, and he's like, all right, this is the alligator habitat, and we're going to get in the water. And it's like, wow. And the thing is like swimming around, and you're like, okay. But yeah, man, my nephews he did a video of that day, and like there were pictures and all that. So you're not going to swim with an alligator and not get photos, especially from a guy as talented as Chris, who's in the water with you. And so that just kind of took legs of its own. And like the next week he was like, hey man, I'm going out shark diving if you want to go. And I'm like, diving with sharks? He's like, yeah, bull sharks off the coast of Jupiter. And I'm like, wow. All right, let's do it. So, dude, no joke. You literally, like, they do baited shark dives 3 miles off the coast of Jupiter, Florida. You jump in the water in a wetsuit, and there's just bull sharks all over the place. I think there were like 14 in the water. Yep. That was just, and no cage, no weapon. It was crazy.
They must have some serious liability insurance there, or you just sign significant waivers.
I think there were a lot of waivers.
Yeah.
Justin, I was signing documents for like the whole 3 mile ride out. on the boat.
That's
But,
great.
in all seriousness, it was incredibly, I felt comfortable. Chris is a professional. I mean, obviously you're in the water with bull sharks. You don't ever know what they're going to do, but we had very good understanding what to expect and how to respond if one came near you. And, it was neat, man. That was a wild experience. So yeah,
That's
sharks
so cool.
and alligators. Yeah, that was great.
That's so cool. Listen, I think what we've been doing here at Bennett Financial is really spending a lot of time being intentional with the people that we surround ourselves with the people that we serve, with the work that we do, because I think, when you wake up in the morning, you have an option to behave the way that you want to behave, and that's something that you can control. And it's something that people live by, or in some cases they don't live by, or they technically live by it, but they opt to point the finger at other people or third parties, and they never look in the mirror. And I think, there's a number of things, Frank, that I think draw you and I together. But I think one of the things that we both have in similar, or that we share from a perceptions perspective is, I think we're eternal optimists. Eternal optimists. And you and I and the people that we hang with, sometimes we look at a challenge as an opportunity, and it seems so odd because most people look at a challenge as a way in which they're not going to be able to get to where they want to be able to get to. But I think by looking at a challenge as an opportunity, then it becomes more of an adventure, and then we develop a skill set on how to troubleshoot it and how to work through it, and ultimately just plow forward and be a problem solver. And I think that's something that that's certainly a characteristic of you, Frank, that I appreciate, and I try to work on every single day. So I think because of that, we have been able to connect on many levels. But I think that then leads to a domain of our lives in which we both subscribe to, which is this fitness and health domain, whereby we recognize that we only have one form, we only have one chance in the form that we move through time in, called the body. And I think you do an incredible job taking care of it. I know that you get some attention at a local facility that I happen to find myself rehabbing a recent ankle injury at. They're incredible, over the folks over there at Current. But I think just talk to us a little bit about how you see the world as it relates to your body, your fitness, your the importance of taking care of that, and how that carries over to your mindset, right, and how you behave every day.
I mean, Justin, you touched on it, and the thing I appreciate hearing it from you, and the way you put it was very deep to me in a sense, because even thinking about you're a guy who runs 50 milers for breakfast, so I look at you and you're on like a whole nother level, and I'm like, come on, man, like I got to step it up. And we were joking this summer about that, like, man, I got to try one of these ultra marathons. And oddly enough, I hate running. I've never been a runner. That's why I was a baseball player. I liked basketball because I could sprint, but running is one of those things I need to get better at. But just from like a perspective of, I think for me and my approach to fitness, and I'm going to tie that in with my mental space too, because I wasn't always good at both. And quite honestly, I wasn't always good at either. So, I think in my early 20s, I did the partying thing, and it's, you're out late, you're drinking, you're smoking, you're doing the things that you do when you're 22. And then, at like 28, I was like, man, I got to get myself together. And now I'm 37. Right. At 28, I did nothing bad, nothing crazy. I literally stopped drinking entirely, cut that entirely out of my life. That was one of those things I looked at. It was a distraction. It was a negative. And I just stopped it, and I haven't had a drink since. And that helped, I think, just with the mindset. And then when you look at the physical stuff, that to me has been a journey. Getting back in the gym, whenever you have to get back in the gym, is good for people. If you have to start, all you have to do is start. And I think a lot of times I've found myself in a place where I'm like, oh man, and you mentioned challenges, this challenge is huge. I don't know how I'm going to get through it. And we started off saying it's a good day for a good day. You get through it one day at a time. Try to fail forward. I mean, how many people, Justin, do you hear that are ultra successful, that have openly talked about their failures and what it's meant in their life. But a lot of times we don't want to
Sure.
do that. Like, oh, I don't want to tell people I got fired from a job. Oh, I don't want to tell people that I literally had nights after I lost that campaign and I was in the best shape of my life. I was ripped as could be. I could run 5 miles in 40 minutes without even thinking. I was driving around the Florida Keys, having the time of my life, just doing whatever I wanted every single day. And there were nights that I'm in that van by myself, sleeping in a gym parking lot because that's where I was showering the next day. And I'm like, dude,
right.
how in my life did I get here? What am I doing?
Right.
I'm literally sleeping in a Planet Fitness parking lot because they're open 24 hours and I'm going to use their shower in the morning. But guess what? That day I went swimming with alligators or I went to spring training. But we don't want to talk about those negative times. And like, I guarantee in your business, there were probably times where you're like, dude, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. Like, I don't know. I mean, and we don't talk about those things.
Absolutely.
I mean, so.
By the way, I think I had one of those moments before you and I got on the show here. I was talking to my friend, my friend Sal, who's helping out with some of the video footage, and I was just saying, people are people. It's just like everybody starts sparking orders, and I want this and I want that. I'm just like, they look to you for answers, which you appreciate, but at some point you're just like, let me hit the pause button, let me go take a walk, let me recalibrate, and it happens, right? Because you can't always be performing at the top of your game in a way in which everybody starts to bark orders at you, and I want this and I need that, and and you have to always be able to fulfill. So in order to be able to fulfill, you have to be able to regain your composure. And I definitely had one of those moments before we got started. And you bring up this whole idea, I think you said failing forward. I think those were the words, right, Frank? Yeah. So check this out. Our son, who Cooper, he is into sports, and he likes all sports, and he plays his heart out in whatever it may be. And, he does, right now basketball, baseball, football, and he wants to get into soccer. And so, bottom line is he's playing on this travel basketball team, and these 10-year-olds who are in fourth grade are pretty good, pretty skilled. And I happened to watch him a little bit last night at his basketball practice, and there's an A team and a B team, and he's on the B team, and the A team and the B team are practicing together. And my background in that I like basketball, so I found a window, and I'm the only guy peeking in the window watching this practice that they don't allow parents to come watch. And I just wanted to observe. And so what I observed was, our son was a little timid, which was unlike his way of playing sports. And I know why he was timid. It's because he was concerned that if he failed, if he did something wrong, the coach would have completely screamed at him, because that's just the coach's style. And the coach is a very, very good coach. He knows the game of basketball. So fast forward to after the practice, he gets in the car, we're driving home, and I'm just talking to him. I'm like, hey, bud, listen, do you think, I asked him, I'm like, I try to help. It's hard for a 10-year-old to get this concept, but I was like, hey, bud, do you think that you were playing your hardest at all times when you were out there? And he's like, I don't know. I don't think so. And I'm like, all right, and I'm not trying to beat him up, but my point was, I said, listen, Coop, I think that you had a lot more in the tank, and I think you were perhaps a little bit concerned that if you pushed it and it resulted in failure, that you would then get yelled at and it would set you back. And I said, if you kind of recalibrate how you look at that, and it's a hard concept, and I said I'll stay with you on this concept for the rest of life, because you're not gonna get it right out of the gates. But if you put yourself out there and you grab the ball and you go the length of the court and you make a move and you turn the ball over, don't look at that as a negative, right? Because you gain the confidence to grab the ball, go the length of the court, make a move against some really good basketball players. And if you turn the ball over, you turn the ball over. But there's only one way for you to get better at it, is to keep doing it. So you're going to encounter failure, but look at failure as an opportunity to grow and develop. And, like any 10-year-old kid said, yeah, Dad, I got it, thanks, but I'm sure there's a bunch of listeners that can probably relate to that. But, listen, the reality is, I'm not trying to tell him what to do, but I'm just trying to encourage him to fail forward, to be okay with this idea of failure, because I think from a parental standpoint and from a boss perspective and from an authority perspective, sometimes we don't realize that we're always kind of setting people up for failure, and then we're like, we're clobbering them. Like they're going to be down on themselves. Their performance isn't going to be what it's capable of being. So we need to recognize, to your point, Frank, that failure is not a bad thing. Failure is a good thing. It helps grow, helps develop. Of course, your objective is not to fail. Your objective is to succeed. But in doing so, there may be some failures, and the failures will certainly accelerate the learning curve. And so I appreciate you coaching me in that direction to bring up the failing forward concept, because it's something that I just talked about last night with our son.
And Justin, I love that you brought even the whole basketball thing up. And by the way, my sister just had the baby she just had is named Cooper. So
nice.
A great name. Great name. The other side, you bring up basketball. I remember I got cut from a basketball team. I think I was in 8th or 9th grade. I think 9th. I got cut from the high school basketball team. Failure, right? Like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. My friends were on the team. I played in 8th grade. Like, how did I get cut? All these things. Do you know, fast forward a bunch of years later, I was coaching the local rec basketball league where I grew up in Waretown with my buddy Captain Mike. And we had a policy for the travel team. No kid would get cut. If they showed up to practice, if they put out, if they really wanted to be on the team, no kid would get cut. And it was a travel team. So, I think at one point we had like 16 kids on the team.
Right.
But guess what, dude? They all raised money to have the nice uniforms, which are different than the T-shirts they would get in rec. They all raised money, and they all traveled. They all did warm-ups. Now, not every kid played every game. We did our best, and but at the end of the day, it was a travel team. The goal was to win. And when we talked about it, that mindset was, I don't ever want to be the reason that kid thinks he's a failure because he may not have the same skill set that another kid has. And that's a kid. Now, I'm not saying like that college basketball teams or high school basketball teams should have 30 kids. I'm not saying that, and I'm not like from the every kid gets a trophy generation. But when I think you can make a difference in a kid's life, and now fast forward 20 years, these kids, I see them still, and they're like, man, I remember being on that basketball team. We had a Waretown jersey and W with Waretown. So we had the Wu-Tang symbol, and we wrote Waretown on it. And that was the jersey.
Love it.
And these kids, man, they still have them. They had their last names on them. So it's funny you bring that up. Now, if I had never gotten cut in 9th grade, do I then, 10 years, 15 years later, adopt that policy that no kid's going to get cut from this team? And then think how many lives that impacted in a positive way. So I think when we go through negative things, it's always like, oh my God, this is the end of the world. Like, hey, yeah, it might be. And your stuff may be jammed up. But at the end of the day, you're going to use that experience to learn from and or help somebody out. I mean, how many times have you been able to – I could say to Coop, hey, man, I got cut in 9th grade.
Right.
And he'd go, oh, okay, cool. And your life turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Dude, and at basic training, the 6 months I was down there, I had a hernia injury. I got a hernia injury during the course of that training. Now, it was an inguinal hernia. They're not fun. I mean, they protrude through the skin. And I remember talking to some of the folks down there, and they're like, look, man, you're probably going to get medicaled out if they find out that you have a hernia.
Right.
And I was like, I'm not getting medicaled out of here. And for the final 2.5, 3 months, I went through infantry training with a hernia. You're marching under load, 60 pounds on your back, 40 pounds on your back. And dude, there were times I would be doubled over in pain, like pushing my intestine back inside the wall, like your abdominal muscle. But, I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to quit and not reach that goal that, quite honestly, I should have done 18 years earlier.
Sure. And I think you developed a mindset. I mean, that's part of how you were raised. It's part of how you behave every day. And, I think a domain that we should touch on, Frank, is a domain that people refer to as money. And,
Yep.
I think we've talked a lot about many, many other areas of one's personal economy and overall world. And, the way that we see success is not just defined by the dollars and cents that you have in the bank, right? Success
Sure. Yeah.
consists of all of these different components that we're talking about, and having proper balance within each of them and making sure that you're working on each of them all the time and you're not compromising one area for another area. And so when we bring up this idea of money and planning and what you're doing in terms of where you are and where you're looking to go, it's something that when you and I first met and we first started chatting, it's not common to see a single person care as much about that domain, the domain of money, as you care. You cared and continue to care about it. And I think, maybe you can just touch on a little bit about what your experience has been just by perhaps bringing greater awareness to the money and how that's helped you shape kind of the way that you see the world and the path that you're on, because I think that's something that people don't fully understand.
Look, man, and Justin, we talk about this all the time. I mean, when you and I met, I was working for a congressman who had just won an election, and he is a guy who's been successful in business. And he said to me, Frankie, find a financial advisor. I don't know who it is. I'm not even going to tell you who to use because I don't want you to think that I'm in on it. Like, I want you to find a guy you're comfortable with. And then Chris Russell connected us. I think, right? That's Russell connected us.
He did.
Yeah. And then, we got together, and I remember, like, I was in your typical, like, late 20s single guy mode. I was never broke, but I wasn't really building to a future because I didn't understand it. And I didn't know. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, I make decent money now. What do I do? And it's the same way. I love the analogy that, and I've referred this to you a bunch of times. If you're struggling with a new strength and conditioning program, are you going to do it on your own, or are you going to talk to a strength and conditioning coach? If you want to play guitar, are you going to go get lessons, or are you going to sit on your couch with an acoustic guitar that's not even tuned and try to teach yourself guitar? Some people do that very well, and that's fine. God bless them, and I'm just not necessarily one of those guys. So when you and I connected, it was like, all right, let's get my house in order. And we made some moves. We did what we had to do, and fast forward 5 years later, 4 years later, that congressman loses that election. I no longer have a six-figure job. The moves that we made over the course of those 4 years enabled me to take about 6 months to live, do whatever I was doing, and not fear about the future. So, and that was, to me, huge. And where am I going now? I mean, I think last week I emailed you. I'm like, hey man, I just came into an extra $100 a month. What are we doing with it? $100 a month. What are we doing with that?
Sure.
And like that to me, because guess what? That 100 turns into 1,200 over the course of the year, and then whatever interest it may earn, however that happens, whatever. And then 10 years later, how much is that? 12 grand.
Right.
So that $12,000, there's a month, or there's a year of a rental house in Florida if I wanted to do that when I retire.
Right. I love it. And I think what you get so well and you have embraced so well is that wealth building is so strongly influenced by the discipline that one may have around their desire to save new money as their income comes into their balance sheet. And, I think you can probably appreciate the fact that so many people are walking the streets talking about, what we call fad investments. Everybody wants to try to talk about, a get rich quick type of an investment. Sure. They think that it exists out there. They think that there's a place where they can park X number of dollars and it could turn into a multiple of that initial deposit. And maybe those places exist, maybe they don't, I don't know. But, I think that when people start to develop a systematic way in which they're able to save new money, they start to realize that you can control your future in a lot better, in a much more predictable way, where you have a better understanding of what to expect as a result of the new money savings that you're doing, rather than just kind of dropping a chunk in some investment and hoping for the best. There's going to continuously be new investments that are available to the marketplace with time. I mean, I know that a big investment that's being discussed right now is Bitcoin. As a registered rep for Park Avenue Securities, we cannot take a position on that. We cannot recommend that.
Sure.
We have some information that we can provide that Park Avenue has provided us, but as it relates to more of the mainstream, and listen, by the way, maybe over the course of time, something like Bitcoin, I don't know, maybe it is a solid investment. Time will tell, right? I don't think anybody knows. But as it relates to the tried and true, the fundamental savings of new money, proper investments, proper allocation, proper protection, listen, the fundamentals work, right? You relate it back to sports. What people don't realize is you're going to get a higher, we're talking about basketball today, you're going to get a higher percentage shooting inside the 3-point line versus shooting outside the 3-point line. Yet, but so many people want to just start chucking up threes, right? Because in the event that it goes in, they get 3 points versus 2 points. However, if they shoot inside the 2, they have a higher probability of making, and a higher percentage of making it. So it's like, but it's not as sexy, it's not as glamorous to shoot inside the 3-point line when you could hold that follow through like Steph Curry does and turn around and not look at the basket when you shoot it and release it. But listen,
I think that go finish your point.
No, I just think that it's so easy to get caught up in the sensationalism around what might be new investments or new opportunities. But I think you embraced this idea of just going to the basics, and the basics work. The basics will always work. So I just applaud you for that.
Well, no, and I appreciate it. And I think to me, it's people just don't talk about it enough. And even my friends and I, and the guys in the gym or wherever, guys in the National Guard that I deal with, it's easy to talk about like you were talking about the fun. I almost consider that stuff like fun, almost like fantasy football in a sense. You're never going to make gazillion dollars in fantasy football, but is it fun to do with your buddies with $500 a season? Sure. Cool. And if you win at the end, yeah, you're going to make $3,500. Great. Cool. Awesome. We had fun talking football all year, and I made $3,500 that, is going to go back into next year's draft party. That's kind of almost how I'm viewing the whole day trader thing right now, is like, hey, cool. Mm-hmm. That's what those guys are into. They're having fun with it. I hope nobody's getting crazy financially and hurt by it. I have some interest in it. I just think some of it's intriguing to watch and develop. At the end of the day, I'm not going to base the next 20 years off of something that may not work. So, yeah, my attention is, what am I doing with that extra $100 a month? And I'm going to email you guys later about another little thing. So it's what are we doing? Like, how are we building it? These things work. It works if you work it too. I mean, I love that saying, it works if you work it. How many times you want like you didn't start out running 50 miles on day one, but I guarantee you, like, that I can only imagine what is going through your mind when you finish a 50 miler.
Well, the 50 miler is a training run for a 100 miler, by the way.
Yeah.
But when I finish it, it's like, wow, that was 50. That was I look at it as half of 100. Not double 25. But that's just the way I look at it.
Now you finished 100, right?
A couple times, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Did the Leadville one in Colorado.
That's
and
right. Yes.
Did one in Arizona, and I'm looking to throw one on the books for later this year now that my ankle's feeling better. So
good.
Yeah, just got to keep working with it, man. Got to keep working with it. Yeah.
And that's just it, man. It's
all
this stuff. And go ahead.
No, this is great. This is really good stuff. I just want to thank you for hanging with us here on the podcast on YOPE, Your Optimal Personal Economy. I mean, we started to invite a select handful of people onto the podcast as guests, and of course you were on that very short list. So we appreciate you joining us, and we know that you're out there on social, so our listeners can check you out on social. They could see what you're all about. They could follow you. I mean, they could follow Bennett Financial. They could, whether it be Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, there's so many different ways to check out you or our firm. Check us out. Follow, I think we're closing in on 100 podcast episodes, which is kind of exciting.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. My wife Kim is going to be the 100th. Or the guest on the 100th episode. She doesn't know it, but she will be. But no, it's all good. It's all good. So
how many times have you said that to her? Hey, how many times have you said that? Hey, you don't know this yet, but this is going to happen.
Not too often, I try to, just on milestone events like that, I want her to be part of it because,
that's awesome.
Without her, none of this is possible, and it's serious. I'm serious,
Sure.
So, but listen, thanks again, Frank. I appreciate your time. It's been great hanging with you, and we'll keep rolling, keep rocking. It's a good day for a good day, and thanks so much.
You bet, brother. I'll talk to you soon, Justin.
Take care, Frank.
Yeah, man, no doubt. See ya.
Thank you for listening to YOPE, Your Optimal Personal Economy. We look forward to sharing more conversations with you and invite you to visit our website, bennettfg.com. That's BENNETTFG.com, where you can listen or subscribe to our library of YOPE podcasts. Follow us on social media, and as always, please feel free to share this episode with anyone in your personal orbit looking to become better informed and take control of their financial landscape.
Justin Bennett, Registered Representative of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, PAS, OSJ Northeast Planning Corporation, 1150 Raritan Road, Suite 201, Cranford, New Jersey, 07016, 908-709-0020. Securities products offered through PAS, member FINRA SIPC. Financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. PAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Bennett Financial Group, LLC is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. California Insurance License Number 0H88104. This podcast is for informational purposes only. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by PAS, Guardian, or Bennett Financial Group, LLC, and opinions stated are their own.